40 minutes after the hour, the Jim Villanucci Show with Sam Hauser on ESPN Radio. It's been a long time, but on the Daniels Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Cool Tech Hotline, Carol Wight, CEO of the New Mexico Restaurant Association. Kind of a crazy day, Carol.
It's been a crazy day.
So before we get into all of this, and I don't know why most people don't know this, but in the best of times, the restaurants that you represent are operating on what? About a 3% profit margin on sales. So I'm shocked that any of them are still alive at this point since March with all this going on.
Well, at one point we did have some relief from the federal government in the PPP loans, and
right.
So that did get us through at least that space. And now those loans are gone, and so closing down restaurants is a real tough thing for them. They don't have any more savings left. They are having to get rid of inventory that they couldn't sell again, and they're having to lay off their employees. So it's a real tough time, and I just feel sorry for them. And you're right. If a restaurant's doing really good, they've got maybe 5% profit margin, which means the rest of that money, 95%, goes back in the economy through payroll and other things.
Talking to Carol Wight with the New Mexico Restaurant Association, and going back to the beginning of the pandemic, it seems like more than any other industry, restaurants and brew pubs and the like have been just yanked back and forth. And today is probably the worst day for that.
Well, it's, again, mixed blessings, and we don't know what's going to happen with the Supreme Court. We don't know what's going to happen with this temporary restraining order. And again, restaurants, and what we've told them is that you need to do what's best for your business at this time. If that means opening up at 50%, then do that. But we're not telling them to hire people back and buy more inventory, because this is just temporary. We don't believe this is going to last forever. We would hope that we could talk to the governor and that she would be able to see things from our way, and that she would give us the data that she seems to think she has to shut us down. It's that void of we don't have a sounding board. She's not talking to us, and therefore we can't talk to her.
You're not having any conversations with, you represent every restaurant in the state. You're not having any conversations with our governor?
No. She keeps having one-off conversations with a restaurant somewhere and saying that she's talking to the industry. Well, I'm sorry, but one-off conversations with a restaurant does not mean you're talking to the industry. I represent every restaurant in New Mexico. And if you're not talking to me or my board or, the folks that we represent, then you're not having the conversation that needs to be had.
Dr. Carol Wight, CEO of the New Mexico Restaurant Association. What is the data, or are there studies to suggest that a restaurant at 25 or 50% with social distancing, people eating indoors, some people eating outdoors, how safe is it?
So the data that we can get from the governor's office, which is on the environmental website, is the data for COVID-positive employees. And that data basically shows that restaurants, there is no COVID-positive spread in restaurants, which means if our employees are not giving it to each other, so there's only one case in I think it's 62 out of 69 restaurants, there's only one case of an employee, and they're not giving it to each other. So if that's the case, what's the chance that they're giving it to our customers?
And if you look at how they are treating other industries, does it seem like they're picking winners and losers and maybe being unfair to you guys for some reason?
Well, so that is what the lawsuit is about. It's about the arbitrary and capriciousness of the governor's latest health order. And remember, she didn't say that restaurants were the problem. As a matter of fact, she said restaurants are not the problem. That the problem is that, what did she say? New Mexicans are the problem. So restaurants didn't do this to restaurants. New Mexicans did this to restaurants. So it felt like she was punishing New Mexicans by shutting down restaurants.
Carol, we had a restaurant employee call in earlier in the hour, and just, among the other, there are a few different things that he brought up, but one of them, and certainly we've noticed as well, that there's been a few cases now with a really short turnaround between a decision that gets made and a restaurant that has the opportunity to open back up or has to make some kind of changes. I'm curious, what have you heard or from any restaurants just about some of the challenges that they've had to go through and some of the changes back and forth?
Well, and that is the problem. I mean, they feel quite jerked around right now. Here we are on, here we are off. What do we do? Should we just shut down? Is this ever going to get any better? And I think that's what we need to hear from the governor is that, yes, we're going to learn to live in a COVID positive world. We're just going to have to do that in order to get our, and it's not just about the economy, but think of 50,000 employees were laid off in my industry alone.
Once again, I want to reiterate this. I am shocked that you're not having regular I just assumed that you were having regular conversations with our governor.
The governor has never talked to us ever about the data. She just refuses. There was one conversation before we opened a while back, and there were 6 restaurateurs. There was also, and this is way back June. No, it was April. She came on a phone call with the Restaurant Association and told us what she was going to do. And actually, she wouldn't tell us what she was going to do at that time. And then she came on with a phone call about that same time with our board, and that's the last we've talked to her. And here's the thing, is that people are willing to do what they have to do if you can convince them that it's the right thing. If she would just talk to us and say, here's the data, and it does look like the restaurant industry is the problem. We don't have that data. We have the same data she does, and we can look at it, and it doesn't come out to where restaurants are a problem.
Have you talked to your contemporaries in other states? Are there better examples of someone in your position being able to work more closely with the government?
So we're one of only 3 states that has closed down restaurants again. Other states have closed down bars, and yeah, I talk to my contemporaries all the time, and it just seems like our governor is just not willing to go there and talk to the industries that are being affected by her public health orders.
Well, and once again, how many people work in this business?
Well, prior to COVID, we had about 82,000 employees.
That's just directly.
Yeah, that is directly. That is not. It's like 96,000 if you include all of the people that work in the industry or around the industry.
I mean, it seems like a big group of folks that vote, and I don't want to make this political. However, I mean, are we assuming that all restaurants are owned by rich Republicans? Or, I mean, is there some kind of backstory here I'm not getting?
If you get it, would you call me?
Because first of all, they're not. Okay, I will tell you that, and I'm not going to name names, but you know who I'm talking about. A lot of big-time Democrats own restaurants and are just getting crushed.
Yeah, they are, and and it's not politics. Many of my members are Democrats. Many of them are Republicans.
Not for you.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What's going to happen today? What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen next week, July 30th? Do you have any plan, or are you just in limbo here?
Right now, we have the temporary restraining order that was issued by the judge today, and so we're telling our restaurants that they can open if they think it's best for their business at this time. And one thing I want to say is that, we've asked all restaurants to be extremely committed to COVID-safe practices if they are going to open. And we're asking our restaurateurs and our customers to adhere to these measures so that we can continue to ensure the safety and health of our employees and their customers.
And, we talked to Nip Capnison. They spent, $40,000 on air filtration system that they got from NASA. It seems like and people are trying to do the right things.
And I won't say all of them are trying to do the right thing. And I just want to say that those restaurants that are not paying attention to the COVID-safe practices need to be shut down, right? Just like if they're not doing food safety practices, they need to be shut down. And the inspectors are out there to do that. And we expect them to do that with the restaurants that are not practicing safely in this time as well. I'm not here to protect those restaurants. I'm here to protect the restaurants that are doing it right.
Well, look, we appreciate your efforts, and keep in touch with us and let us know how we can get the word out on what's going on.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Carol. All right, bye-bye. What a rough place to be for 80-some thousand. Well, it was 80-some thousand. I have no idea how many are still working. Just a quick update. 255 new cases today, Sam. 88 in Bernalillo County.
Yeah.
Real quick. Those are the latest numbers.
So it's slowly going back down.
7 new fatalities.
The positive cases in Bernalillo slowly going back down.
And we're below 300 again. So that's
overall for the state. And there were a few days in a row where Bernalillo County
over 100,
was in triple digits.
Yeah. So that is. Are you a little bit shocked that? And Carol's had this job for 20 years.
Yeah.
Since I've been here and gone and back.
No, I'm with you. I think that's the biggest takeaway from that interview was that the lack of communication that's happening between the New Mexico Restaurants Association and the state.
And she said,
Stunning.
look, if you can show us some data that said you're spreading.
I mean, what did she say? It had been a few months?
And since April?
Yeah.
They had one talk, I guess. And she's showing that the data that they showed was that the restaurants aren't spreading. So I don't know. It's and the brew pubs and they're all just being jerked back and forth. And anyway, if you want to jump in here, we heard from Chase earlier and what Carol had to say. 505-994-1017. And we talked to Davis Potter with the Casper Star Tribune. Nobody knows what to do. I mean, everything is just up in the air everywhere.
We're still here.
And we're still here.
Such as it is.
Hello. I'll be here until Wednesday, and then we got Sporty Sports Thursday and Friday.
That's right.
But yeah. All right. If you're still here, check in with us. 505-994-1017. Jim and Sam, ESPN Radio will continue.
Rio Grande Boulevard.